The number one message is I just want to make sure that the experience of everything that I'm doing for the homeowner is at peak capacity.
EG4 stands for energy generation for everyone. And that's really our mission here, is to bring that power to everybody out there as easily and affordable as possible.
There's a lot of guys out there doing DIY, and you want to try and do it yourself. You start getting involved with it and you realize it's a little bit more than you wanted to sign up for.
Well, welcome back to another episode of Grid Gone Wild. I'm here with Mr. Chad Bodler. My name is Nathan Underwood, as most of you guys know that follow our content. Today, we're going to be talking about our hybrid mini splits, man. And me being an Arizona native, man, it is hot. It is just smoking hot out there.
And I've seen you can fry an egg and some chicken. People, it's kind of like Vegas Vacation, where Eddie goes out there, tosses the chicken out there on the rocks, and it cooks. I think you could do that in where you live currently.
You know what, man? As long as he's not dumping his septic in the sewers, I think we're going to be all right. But getting back, man, our mini splits, those little hybrids, they're amazing, and they're helping to offset those utility costs for those high energy bills from running that AC constantly. And thankfully, I was actually out in Arizona recently doing some trips around to some distribution channel partners out there. And I met a great guy. His name's Roque. He's an Arizona native as well. He's out there selling in the market right now. He's got some installs on the books. We thought we'd bring him in, have a conversation, and really dive into how he likes our products, what his thoughts are, and kind of the growth of his future. So, Roque, you want to give us a little bit of an introduction here? Let us know who you are, where you came from, and how you like our products?
Sure, yeah. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on the podcast here. I've been doing solar sales since 2015. Started out kind of dabbling a little bit, doing it part-time here and there. As you guys know, back then it was a lot more difficult to get into residential homes.
Sure.
There wasn't all the different lending products there are today. There wasn't the guarantees that there are today. So it was a little more difficult back then. So I did it part-time. Started doing it full-time in 2019. Wasn't in love with the industry. Wanted to help homeowners and consumers more. Then I found there was a guy who was running a small little company. He had the idea of helping people offset the AC usage, because that's here in Arizona. It's a big deal.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Went to some conventions, discovered mini splits. I was like, wow, this is awesome. They're like, yeah, we've been using it in third world countries for a long time. And it just never really took off with anything I was doing. Then I found you guys with the AC/DC hybrids, and that just seemed to be a perfect marriage for homeowners. It makes sense going directly to the unit and powering the AC to get that portion of the energy off the grid, even inside of a residential home. It just makes sense. It's brilliant.
Man, I love to hear that stuff. It's really fun. Something I thought that was really nice, and I have every plan. I know, Roque, when we met out there in Mesa a couple of weeks ago, is even hooking it up to the AC side, right? You're only going to utilize that power during your off-peak hours, right? So once that utility cost drops, you get into your nighttime or time of use rates in the evening, you're saving a tremendous amount of money, even utilizing it on the AC side. And then during the heat of the day, during those peak hours and those high energy costs, you're driving it off of solar only, right? You've got that DC on there. You've got those 6 or 8 panels up on the roof. So it's not costing anything to run that thing all day long. So if you really dial it in and you set that temperature rating, you really should reduce your energy costs substantially on the back end.
Yeah. So if it's a comparison directly from an AC mini split, let's take the 2-ton, for example. I love the 2-ton. If you take that and you compare it to any of its counterparts with an HVAC, the standard HVAC system, 1.5 ton or 3 ton is what most homes have here. It's going to be far more efficient. I mean, you're talking about a 30 amp breaker that has to be put on to try and pump air throughout the entire home. Where if you think about a standard home here is about 2,500 square feet.
Yeah.
You're only occupying 700 square feet at a time, AKA your living room, right? Most of your daytime, your kids are at school, you're sitting in the living room doing your work or your office space, whatever space you're in occupying, but you're cooling down all 2,600 square feet just to stay comfortable in the 700 square feet that you're using. So when you compare them side by side, without all of the other benefits that come from using the EG4 mini splits, it's just a better solution. The ducting systems in Arizona make no sense at all as far as efficiency goes.
Yeah, and you mentioned something like the average home size was 2,200 square feet, I think you said.
About 2,500, I think, for our
2,500. Well, I mean, if you get two 2-ton mini splits, that covers the entire square footage, right? So, I mean, you know, in an open space, obviously there's doors, different levels, things like that. But if you had two 2-ton mini splits, each one of those are 1,350 square feet,
roughly,
you can knock out a large portion of your bill, your utility bill, because all day long you're using the sun's energy to cool your home.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, you look at it. You know, most of your costs from a utility bill, perspective, you've got like your AC unit, right? Your cooling system. You've got maybe an electric range and an electric dryer. Those are probably your 3 highest cost issues, right? So if you take that large issue of your air conditioning, or and you roll that into a DC conversion, and you're not paying that utility bill, I would imagine, depending on your usage and how big your home is, how you have it mounted and location, you could probably knock out, I would say, 30 to 40% of that energy cost.
And Rocky mentioned something earlier, like these are just more efficient. If you take a 2-ton traditional HVAC unit, that's probably going to be a minimum of a 30 amp breaker, right?
Right.
This 2-ton mini split is, we'll say pushing similar, heating and cooling aspects, but requires about half of that AC power. Even if we're not talking about
220 connection.
Exactly. Even if we're not talking about, hooking up the solar panels, right? We're utilizing half of that AC power to do essentially the same thing.
Exactly the same thing.
But now we have the ability to offset even more by adding those solar panels in, and we're essentially cooling and heating that space for free during the day.
Yeah, I think
the 1 ton, you can basically plug that right into the wall. The 1 ton.
Yeah, pretty much. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, if you were electrically savvy, I mean, there's not any reason you couldn't do that. Not recommended, everybody.
Not recommended. But that's the usage it requires. It's a 115.
Exactly, a 15 amp circuit, which is any basically standard outlet in your home.
The caveat: do not try this at home.
Hey, Rocky, walk us through. You mentioned earlier that you've sold around 20 of these units so far. Walk us through how you have that conversation with the homeowner, with whoever you're selling the product to.
Yeah, so I've had this conversation actually a lot more than that, because I've done mini splits for homes in the past. The reason I do mini splits is because here in Arizona we have something we call hotspots. If you take a look at a home, you can even see it through the thermal meters. Because I go through a house, I check out the rooms with the thermal meter to find out where the inefficiencies are in the home as far as heating and cooling goes. Almost always on any east-facing wall, if there's windows there, those rooms are going to be hotter in the morning. And any west-facing wall, those rooms are going to be hotter in the evening. Almost always, depending on how efficient or how new the home is. If it's older than a 2016 or a 2017 home, guaranteed it's going to have hotspots all over the house. So once I find out where those hotspots are, I kind of sit down with the homeowner, explain what's going on. And those rooms need mini splits simply for comfort, right? Nobody wants to sit in a hot room that's 10 or 20 degrees hotter than the rest of the home.
Right, so that room essentially is not being utilized as much as other areas in their home. They might have used to have an office in there, and they're like, man, it's too hot in the summertime. I'm going to go move my office into the living room.
Well, it's either that, or you end up, cranking that AC down to 65 degrees to try to offset that hotspot. But then you're freezing out other rooms in the house that are naturally a little bit cooler.
Yep.
Yeah, and most of the times, to be honest, you can't even, if it's a bi-level or tri-level home, you can't even turn your AC down low enough to cool those hot rooms.
Right, 100%.
Rocky, you're welcome to come by my house anytime and run your thermal through there, man. I've got an open vaulted ceiling house, and I'll tell you, It's miserable, man. I've got a couple of spots. I've got an east end and a west wall, and they both have very large picture windows. So I mean, the heat is just radiates through there. And unfortunately for me, my office is actually on that west wall, right next to that window. So my plan, very soon actually, is to go ahead and install one of those 2-ton hybrid mini splits, just right above my desk, man. I want that thing just blowing 61 degrees, just right. I want to be frozen when I come out of my office.
Yeah, and unfortunately too, because the heat rises in those vaulted ceilings, it creates like an air pocket right there,
Yeah,
up close to the ceiling, and it makes wherever the temperature register is inside of your home, it causes it to believe that it's a comfortable temperature, even though there's all that heat. And sometimes when you stand up, and tell me if you notice this in your home, sometimes when you stand up, you can feel the top of your head is a little warmer.
Oh yeah,
100%.
yeah. It's. I would say it's a significant difference. I would say probably 5 to 7 degrees. I would imagine. You know, you know, if you're sitting at your desk, you tend to be fairly comfortable. But as soon as you stand up and start walking around, you can feel as that air kind of cycles around, you can feel that heat drop down from that ceiling. Or if you've got a ceiling fan, of course, you can feel that air draft come down.
It's the oddest thing. It's so strange. You wouldn't think, with modern society, that our homes would be this inefficient sometimes, but they are. When I explain it to a homeowner, so once I show them the hotspots and I sit down with them, because dealing with the hotspots for most people is really a luxury, right? Unless you make good money and you don't care how much your bill costs, you're paying $500 to $1,000 in the summertime for a bill. Most other people are conscious of the cost that it takes to keep that comfort, right? And so when I sit down with them, I take a look at the bill, whether it's in APS or SRP. Those are the main utility companies out here. You look at the bill, there's a graph on there. On the graph, you can kind of see it going up and down. In the summertime, it spikes up, comes down, and it kind of goes up and down again. If you put a ruler or a piece of paper across that, where the lowest months are, everything below that is essentially your baseline usage for your home.
Yeah.
Your lights, your refrigerator, just the basic things inside of the home. Everything above has to do with temperature regulation, whether it's your HVAC controlling the temperature of the home, or it's your hot water heater or something controlling temperature of water. Everything above that line is essentially climate control.
Right. 100%. Yeah.
You can erase all of that just by using things like the AC/DC hybrids.
Yeah, absolutely. And the ease and simplicity of the installation, I think that it kind of sets it above the rest. I mean, if you wanted to go install an additional traditional, 2-ton HVAC system, you're looking at a lot of money and probably several days worth of work, right? Versus you take one of these, hybrid mini splits, you could probably have it installed in, 3-4 hours. Customer's happy. Everybody's they're automatically saving money. And, it's a win-win.
No, that's okay. I was just going to say that the major problem with the standard system is the ducting. It's not even the installing the system itself. It's the getting the ducting to work properly. Like here in Arizona, the builders, a lot of these homes were built cheaply, right? They're tract homes. The builders just didn't give a lot of attention to it. They put in the cheapest products they could.
Right.
And when they were doing this, there's two major problems. Number one is our coating here in Arizona doesn't require a lot of efficiency in the attic space because there's no moisture here. So when you think of places like up north or in the Midwest, they have tons of codes and regulations they have to abide by in order to prevent moisture buildup because of mold.
Yep. Proper venting and ventilation.
Yeah, ventilation. It's a huge thing. Here in Arizona, not really a big thing.
Yeah, not nearly as much.
Yeah.
Not because there's not as much. There's no moisture here. So we're at like 160 to 200 degrees in the attic space where your ducting system's at. So that's the number one issue that we have here is there's no coating that helps builders to do this properly for us.
Mm-hmm.
Number two is because they're doing it cheap, they're doing it by the standard idea of the HVAC system. And so the venting that they have, the way that the ducting works here is usually one size too small. Most homes that have two probably should have three. Most homes that have one should probably have two, which would just change the direction of the ducting in the house. And that's why you'll notice some rooms, like at the end of the road, they're going to be hotter than some of them that are closer to the ducting system, right? To the beginning of the ducting system.
Yeah. Everything you just talked about is exactly everything that's happened to my house. I just had to have one of my units replaced. It was already undersized. It should have been 3 versus 2. One of the units is in the attic, so every time the AC kicks on, I immediately feel that warm heat because it's got to blow out all the warm ducts, all the warm air in the ducts, and it's exactly what you're talking about. And that's how the majority of homes across the United States, I live in South Carolina, so no matter in South Carolina, Arizona, wherever, a lot of them are built very similar to that when it comes to heating and cooling.
Hey, really quick, Chad, just from what you were just talking about with having your new AC unit and stuff like that put in, I did not thankfully have to have my new one put in. But what I did have to do is I had to have my vents changed because I wasn't getting cooling to the end of the row like Rocky was talking about. So I've got a 5-bedroom house, and I think I have a 3-ton downstairs and a 2.5 on my upstairs unit. And the last room in the upstairs was just a sauna, man. It was just a miserable place to be. And then same thing with my master bedroom, which is downstairs. It's the farthest away from the unit. So it really struggled to try to keep up with that process. So thankfully, I got a buddy of mine who does HVAC systems. And he was able to come out. He did some vent relocation or vent reallocation, let's call it. And it helped, but by no means is it a cure-all, save-all. So like I said, man, I'm gonna throw a couple hybrid mini splits in there. I'm not even gonna AC connect them.
Just DC to offset that cost during the day.
Just to offset that high peak usage during the day. And I think I'm gonna see a significant savings. And I'll be happy to come back on the show and talk to you about it. Maybe you come out and we do an install together. And maybe we shoot that for some content for the folks out here in TV land.
Oh, it'd be tons of fun.
Oh, I'm tons of fun. All right.
So, Rocky, I mean, you mentioned how many have you sold? How many have you seen out of those ones you sold have gotten installed already? And, you've had that positive experience with the homeowner. And as soon as it starts working, because it's pretty much immediate, right? It's not like your traditional solar system where you got to go through the ringer and talk to the utility and do all this different stuff, get PTO, and there's a lot involved, as you know, with a traditional solar system. This is kind of like, we'll call it a cheat code, right? A cheat code to the industry. And it's a fairly simple install, pretty quick, pretty easy, that can offset your usage, within a 4 or 5 hour installation for, a quarter of the price.
2 ways to do it. I think if you want, I met with a guy recently, and I'm still talking with him. He didn't want to go full solar because he's had bad conversations. He has friends that have had bad experiences, and he's just really leery of it. But doing just the mini splits by themselves is something that he wants to do because it's more like an introductory to solar, right? Before he goes getting a whole battery system and the whole backup and everything, he's like, well, let's do these. And I can speak to him with confidence, knowing that that's going to better his situation.
Oh, 100%.
So, yeah, aside from the utility, aside from the comfort aspect of having the mini splits, it's just logical that offloading some of your usage for your main AC to some mini splits to support some of that. Let's say you're utilizing your mini splits 30% of the time, not 100% of the time. And then the other 70%, you're utilizing your main AC. Just doing it 30 to 50% of the time, you're going to extend the lifespan of your main AC by almost double.
Oh, yeah. I can only imagine, dropping on, and not just that, but like your startup voltage, right? If you're maintaining a cooler, warmer temperature in the house, you're not going to get that initial voltage, that initial
light flicker,
right?
When your unit turns on.
When that thing kicks on, man, and you see all the lights in your house kind of dim down for a second, you're not going to see that, right? Because the ambient temperature is going to be cooler already or warmer, depending on what season you're in. but you're going to see that
Yeah.
offset.
All of the homes that I service, I try to make sure that they get some sort of a monitoring service connected to their main panel breaker, so they can see how energy is being used in their home through all the different paths that it goes. One of them obviously is the AC, because it's the main area, and you can visibly notice the difference from when your AC is 2 or 3 years left on its life. Your bill goes through the roof, and you can see how much more usage you're getting on the grid just because it's starting to go out. It's not even all the way out yet.
Okay.
Now, if you put in some mini splits, you can prevent that from happening. One, you don't have the extra surge, right? And then maybe instead of replacing it in 3 years, you buy an extra 6 to 10 years.
100%. Like I said, I mentioned that I just had to replace one of my units, and I saw everything that you're talking about because it was an older unit. So it was running a lot more, kicking on, kicking off, kicking on, kicking off. So now you have additional usage because the unit itself is so inefficient at this point.
Mm-hmm.
It's overworked. But if I had a mini split, I could have, even though, it's still using a lot there, now I'm not utilizing it as much. It's not turning off and on, and it might have lasted another 6-7 years. But now I had to pay somebody to come out, replace that unit, which I can tell you from personal experience, it was a good experience. However, the money tied with that. I could have purchased 2 mini splits for the replacement cost of that particular unit.
So my question, Chad, is why didn't you? Was the wife pretty adamant about the new central heat and air? Or?
No, well, yes,
Yeah.
it needed to be
Yeah.
done like immediately. I was actually away for work, and she's like, our AC is out. I was like, all right, I'm calling. We're just gonna get this done because the old happy wife, happy life. But I would much rather have gone down the mini split route, and I probably still will at least add one in there, just so I can start utilizing.
What's the square footage on your place?
It's about 2,200 square feet, multi-level.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, one would offset a little bit, but 2 would be ideal.
Absolutely. I would honestly love to put one in our bedroom. That way I can control and climate control our bedroom, our space. Turn it up in the mornings and when it's a little cold out in the winter time, so it's like nice and toasty when you get out of bed.
You know what? Dude, who doesn't want to be comfortable in their kingdom, right?
Exactly.
Like, you're sitting in your room, you're trying to enjoy some quality time with the family. Man, you should be comfortable.
100%. And the mini split allows you to do that because you can install the smaller one, the 1 ton. It can be room specific, or you can go up to the 2 ton and have it in a much larger space. And
Love it.
We have that versatility to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's usually my recommendation is once we go through, all the stuff about the hotspots and everything, my recommendation is pretty similar. It's a main unit in your main living space, and then secondary units, the 1 tons, and any of your hot rooms or areas that you spend a good amount of time, offices or kids' playrooms, things like that. So most homes here in Arizona are going to get about 2 or 3 mini splits per home, one in the main area, one in a hot spot, and then another one like in a kids' play area or maybe a master bedroom if it's a single guy, something like that, just so that way they stay cool. And the good thing is you can always still use, if you really want to use your main HVAC system, you can. It's still there, right? But now you have the choice. You have the freedom to choose how you're going to do it. It's not based on whatever the builder thought you should do when they built your home.
Absolutely. And let me ask you a question. Is this going to be a hot product for you to continue to sell? What's that future look like for this particular product?
I think every home's going to have a mini split or 2 in it within the next 10 years. It would be silly for it to not happen. Think about this. When I say standard HVAC system, you guys are probably about the same age as I am. We've never experienced a home without an HVAC system, or central air as they used to call it.
Right, correct. So my grandparents' home, they never had central air or anything like that. But now we're into a different era, and every home has centralized heating and cooling.
It's kind of a factory option, right? You get a house built, you get an HVAC system.
Right.
When I was a kid, I remember and it's very vague, but I remember people saying, "Oh, we're gonna get central air," and it was like a thing that was happening. I grew up in the Midwest when I was young, and not everybody had central air.
Yeah,
So
my house in Kansas growing up, we had a swamp cooler, you know, and that was it. That was our cooling for the year. And
yeah, so
I had that same conversation, you know, growing up. It was like, oh yeah, my buddy John, he's going to get central heat and air in his house. We'll go over there and hang out because it's going to be beautiful and not muggy.
That was like a big thing. It was like, oh man, these people got some money. They got central air. Dang.
Right.
that's my rich friend.
100%.
He's working the shop or something. Yeah, and you know that's when it is. So central air is actually fairly new, right? But it's guys that are our age or younger. I think they don't realize how new it is, and so we're just at a point right now, I think, where most people are realizing that ducted systems is just, it's really expensive. It's not efficient, right? And the more that people care about efficiency, the more they're going to realize how backwards having an HVAC system is.
Well, if you go to a lot of other countries, you kind of only see mini splits. They don't go with their traditional ducting system for heating or cooling, right?
That's
Hawaii's very similar to that.
Yep.
But you know, I was just in Mexico recently on a family vacation, and basically every home that I was in and out of, hanging out at some of the hotels, restaurants, they just had mini splits everywhere.
Yeah, my time in the military, I did a couple of I'm gonna call them trips over to the Middle East, and mini splits that's all there is. There is no central heat and air. There is no dedicated ducting HVAC systems. Yeah, and unfortunately for that environment, right, they typically only had one, and it was in the main living area. It wasn't necessarily bedroom driven or multiples per unit. But yeah, you don't see central heat and air units really outside of, you know, the Western world.
And I think
the mini split idea is so new. I called the Arizona Corporation Commission here to see, you know, what does it require for me to be installing these for people, and they don't even have regulations or rules or laws about it yet. That's how new the idea is in the United States, but it's already popping up in all the big box stores.
Oh yeah, I was just in Sam's Club and saw a big pallet of them sitting there right when you walk in the door.
Yeah, they're all starting to carry them now. But guess what? They're not AC/DC hybrids.
No,
those are all just standard.
Yeah, they're not offering what EG4 mini split has to offer with that DC, you know, possibility. It's just an AC. Yeah, it's an efficient system. But what we're offering and what you're selling to your customers, your clients, is that ability to run that mini split directly off the sun. You're essentially taking that load away from the grid.
I think we've got 5 or 10 years before the rest of the industry catches up to what EG4's got going on right now, because it's just not even in their radar. They're so busy doing traditional solar, trying to force people to buy as many panels as possible.
Right, to offset that cost, right?
At that high cost. It's all controlled by the banking industry and really massive EPC companies, which we've seen go out of business in the past 2 years, right?
There's been a large volume of them, yeah.
That whole traditional form of doing it is just obsolete. It's not smart. Homeowners are wising up to it, and they just don't want to have that conversation anymore.
So
they would rather have a conversation on how to be comfortable and do that in an efficient way.
When you sell this to a homeowner, are you packaging it as like the mini split plus the panels, or walk me through that process?
Yeah, so I essentially tell them I got to give you 2 systems, and that's not something I choose to do or I want to do. It's just because the industry is so slow to catching up. I would much rather just do mini split systems that are attached to the EG4 battery, because you have that dedicated line that you can have the excess energy go out, right? You can dedicate that to anywhere you want to go. That's full control of your energy. Could you imagine controlling where your energy goes and how it gets used? That's awesome.
Right, 100%.
Know it exists. They don't even know that that's an option in reality.
Well, that's lucky. That's why we have you. That's totally why we have you, right? you're out there, you're driving the industry, man. You're making changes. Arizona, especially, man. Like I said, I'm a native out there. I love it, but man, it's hot.
Oh, it's brutal. It's brutal. So what I do when I sit down with somebody, I like to show them kind of where they're at, where their standing is, right? I show them the traditional model of solar, which is something I have to do right now because what I'm doing is so new with EG4. The whole idea is so new. I have to help people to see the transition between the two, right? Because when they look at it, they're like, solar this, solar that. They're just repeating everything that they've seen on the news or on social media.
Sure.
Or from their friends, family,
Or from their friends, salesmen who don't even know how energy works.
Right. Well, and just bad information, right? Like you get, or a bad homeowner's experience. I know I've had friends of mine that have gotten solar installed, and unfortunately, and Rocky, I know you know this being an Arizona guy, is that there's certain places in Arizona that you can only build to X number of kilowatts or X number of panels, right? I have a system on my house, and I was capped at a 10 kilowatt system. I use more than 10 kilowatts, so my offset, I can never get to 100%. And the only way for me to get there is to utilize a hybrid mini split to offset my central heat and air system. That's the only way I'm going to be able to attain that 100% offset.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate.
That's the challenge, right? That's the challenge for the homeowner. The experience that they're getting is either one, a sales organization who doesn't know how to do this kind of thing, which most of those are gone now because they've depleted the past couple of years. Or there's a lot of guys out there that are like me that want to help customers to move in a positive direction, that they're just hemmed in by different regulations or the local energy providers requirements, and they're not able to do that. So that's why I set it up where they have a smaller system is their standard system. That standard system is designed to cover their baseline needs in the home, lights and so forth and so forth.
So not their peak usage. It's just they're across the board, kind of draw that ruler on that graph and look at, this is how much energy you really need to cover these everyday costs. Now to offset those peak hours or those peak usage, then you're utilizing these other avenues.
That's correct. Yeah. So, and it helps that. What we've done in the past, and you guys probably have experienced this, in the past, what we've done is we've used limiters or load controllers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We've used those to stop people from using the energy. Now, how many people have you guys heard go, I got solar and now my dryer doesn't turn on?
Yeah, 100%. It's you're set up with that bad customer expectation experience because they're like, oh, I got solar, and they're like, well, I can't utilize what I thought I could, right?
I'd be ticked.
100%. And there's a lot of negativity in the solar industry, and a lot of it kind of comes from that point of sale, right? And a salesperson understanding what a system can actually do, and you're out there and you're explaining it and selling it exactly how you should to a homeowner, and the homeowner is understanding, okay, I could really make an impact and save some money.
They're seeing that value.
They're seeing that value.
Absolutely.
Well, I'll give you a very small example, and it's very easy, I think, for any homeowner to understand whether or not they fully comprehend how energy works. With a load controller, the problem is once your AC kicks on, everything else becomes secondary. Washers, dryers, vacuums, so forth and so forth, right?
Mm-hmm.
So once that AC kicks on, you're limited now because you're using all of the available demand. Anything else that tries to kick on won't turn on.
Mm-hmm.
This is where people get angry. But if you're not using AC because you got mini splits, all of that demand is now still available for your washer and dryer and so forth to kick on. All that you're doing is taking that load off of the grid because it's directly connected by the DC energy.
Mm-hmm.
And then at nighttime, it's connected to the AC energy. You're just removing that load. That's all you're doing. You're pushing that load to a side, letting something else deal with it so the rest of your house can operate how it wants to. That's it. That's all it's doing.
Yeah. And that's something else to talk about real quick is how that mini split is able to identify that it can utilize solar, right? Up until that point where you lose, your PV input, right? The sun goes down, it becomes rainy, cloudy, whatever the issue is. That mini split is so intuitive that when that happens or that wattage drop becomes less than the startup voltage for that compressor, it will automatically transition to that AC coupled. So now that homeowner doesn't even have to think about it, right? If you've got both connections made, when the sun goes down, that mini split just knows, hey, I got to go get the power from the grid, because I no longer am getting that DC voltage from the solar panels on the roof. So to really take the complexity away from the homeowner and make it seamless, that transition from the DC to the AC powering is phenomenal, man. You just tell them, hey, look, turn it on and let it do its thing. That's what it was designed to do.
They don't have to switch anything. They don't have to do anything. And the unit's always going to prioritize that DC power.
That's right.
The customer is always going to have that monetary savings every single day, because guess what? They don't have to do anything to save that money. Once it's installed, you forget it and walk away.
Yeah. Hey, what was that commercial back in the day? Set it and forget it.
If it was any better, it would be a clap-on product.
So they were kind of getting close to the end of this discussion, and I appreciate you coming on and talking to us. We've this has been a great conversation. We've gained some of your insight and your knowledge and expectations, and just kind of want to dive a little bit more into what would you like to see from EG4 in this product brand. How can we expand? How can we help you, the industry, whatever that looks like? We at EG4, we want to make sure we're doing the best that we can for our customers, our clients. We want to innovate, and we want to be that leader.
I've got a pretty big complaint.
Okay.
The only thing that I would change as of right now is in the packaging, there's a piece of tape that holds the thing shut. If it could be slid a little bit to the left, that'd be more convenient.
Are you talking about the electrical cover tape? Is that what we're talking about?
It's the blue tape that holds the flap shut.
Yeah, I know exactly what he's talking about. 100%.
So when you're going to mount it, you have to open the front cover.
Yeah.
You got to put the electrical wires in. But that little blue tape is right there, and you got to take it off. If it was just put on the side, you wouldn't have to do that.
I will. I think I know somebody that
can make that happen.
I think we can make that happen for you. It's not going to happen tomorrow, right? Anything that's in stock is going to remain with the tape in the wrong location. But
yeah,
I think we can make a phone call for you.
Yeah, but I know exactly.
Other than that, man, it's easy. The quick connects. It's so funny because the guys that I asked to help me to do the installs, that they installed standard PV systems for a long time. I showed them this, and I was like, dude, look how easy this thing is to install. I told them, in order to get them to come and help me, I said, it's as easy as hanging up a television. And they're like, come on.
100%.
They show up. It's as easy as hanging up a television. It's nothing. Even the wiring it's labeled 1, 2, 3. Like
that's exactly right.
Quickly dummy proof.
Yeah. You mentioned how easy it was, and you've already installed. What is, we'll say, what's your average install time for 6 to 8 panels in a mini split?
If it's a one-man install, it's probably going to take you like 3 or 4 hours, just because of holding it up and stuff is awkward. I'm a pretty big guy. I can hold it with one hand and feed it through and stuff. I would say it's probably a 2-person job.
I would agree. Yeah.
100%.
I think, well, just from a safety perspective, right? You're going to want to probably have a second set of hands over there.
Yeah, you want 2 people. If you're an installing company, you're probably going to have 2 people and then, a third guy that does cleanup and stuff like that. You could probably get it knocked out in an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yeah. If you really wanted to really drive that market, you get 2 vans, 4 guys, 2 in each van, and you're crushing out 3-4 installs a day, right?
Now, just as a caveat there, this is permitting that the PV is already installed and wired and everything.
Right.
So let's expand on that a little bit. I know we're getting towards the end here, but are you guys, or is your teams, are they installing the PV as well, or is that something that's already installed by the time you get on site for the mini split?
No, we're installing the PV as well. Normally, it's done on a different day. The PV is
okay.
I like to get the mini split installed and hardwired first, because here's a funny thing about solar. There's nothing tangible. So when you get solar installed, it's not like buying a new truck where you're like, oh, this is awesome. You can smell it, blare on the radio. There's nothing tangible for you to be excited about, right? There's just glass on the roof. But once you get the splits put in, the homeowner, if you're an installing company, the homeowner can crank on that AC and they feel it immediately. And they're like, this is awesome. Best choice I've ever made. And that happens right away.
Right.
I'd like to get that running as soon as possible so that way they can have the experience of their good decision.
You know what? And to caveat on that really quick too, once you get that PV on the roof, it's just 2 MC4 connectors. You know, you're just coming into that mini split right there on the compressor, and you're just plugging in 2 wires. There's no extensive, you know, electrical process. There's no disconnecting anything or power to the home because that main connection has already been made.
You know, I don't know what's going to happen with the government, right? That's the elephant in the room that nobody ever wants to talk about. The government's the one that's this.
Absolutely.
And so I don't ever know what they're going to do. So what I've been doing is wiring them up the same way that you would a standard AC.
Mm-hmm.
So that way, if it does change, the homeowners that I've already got installed aren't going to be penalized because of it.
Right.
You know
They're
what I mean?
already in compliance with
Right.
what traditionally is the cost.
Yeah. If you're doing this yourself, I would recommend that you try to do that as well if you can. If not, who cares? You know, it's not the rules. And this is what happened here in Arizona when I called the ACC. They said, look, if you install it yourself, there's no rule. It's a DIY. There's no rules. It's sold as a DIY. There's nothing that's going to prevent you from doing it that way.
Right.
But if you're doing it with an installer, there's not really any rules either. So I would just abide by the regulations that already exist.
Mm-hmm.
And for your disconnect, are you doing a DC disconnect on the roof, or are you locating that near the compressor condenser unit? How are you doing that?
Those are just right next to it, just like you would a standard AC.
Okay.
Right next to the condenser outside.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it makes sense. And you also want that for serviceability. If you do ever have to do something, work on it, that way you can safe off the system.
Right. You can isolate that PV coming off the roof, right? So you're not over there zipping and zapping.
100%.
So I've done it for a little bit of a greedy reason, if you want to say it that way. If I do have to come by and service one, or if, you know, several years down the road, my customer needs a new one, all I got to do is just go out there, pop it off and pop a new one on in less than 15 minutes. And we're ready to rock.
That's right. Absolutely.
Hey, Rocky, what tips or tricks would you, like, you know, if you're talking to other sales organizations, what tips or tricks would you give, you know, some of the people out there to be successful with selling this type of product? Or, you know, you're expanding your sales team and you're bringing people on board. What's your message to them?
The number one message is I've been listening to a lot of Alex Ramosi lately, and I really enjoy having this perspective of solving for the homeowner first, right? That's what I really want to do, man. I just want to make sure that the experience of everything that I'm doing for the homeowner is at peak capacity. I want them to have an awesome time. I want them to be really happy that they did this. And then anything that a sales org decides to do from that point forward is probably going to be great, to be honest. For me, it starts there. And then after that, it's just, it's just solving all those little problems that they're going to have in the house. The demand, the heating and cooling, these are all the standard issues every solar sales company comes in contact with. And if you just solve them using the EG4 options, you can't go wrong.
That was perfectly said. And,
I love it, man.
yeah. And hey, you said something about, you know, homeowners and getting the power to them. And that's the mission behind EG4. You know, EG4 stands for energy generation for everyone. And that's really our mission here, is to bring that power to everybody out there as easily and affordable as possible. Get everybody, you know, working together to
build a more sustainable future.
That's it. That's the word that's the phrase I was looking for.
Sorry, guys. He's a little slow.
It's Thursday.
That's why I love working with the EG4. You know, once I started talking to you guys a little bit, I used the products first, and then I realized that all the way up to the owner. So from all the way down, all the way up to the owner, everybody has the same mission, and that mission is closely aligned or almost exactly aligned with my mission. And I can't ignore that fact.
Yeah, I mean, when you're around like-minded people and with positive things going on, positive things are going to happen. And that's why I'm here, man. I had a great experience with my onboarding. I've only been with the company a little over 6 months, And the last 6 months have been amazing, and I'm looking forward to the continued growth with EG4. You know, with you, Rocky, especially being an Arizona guy. We'll catch up when I get back into town. And yeah, what else we got for Rocky today?
I think that's pretty much it. I think we covered everything that we wanted to talk about with Rocky. You know, I think we can kind of close out on an extremely positive note. And thank you, Rocky, for your time. We appreciate you, you know, giving up your valuable time. We know how valued your time is as a salesperson, especially in the solar industry. But why don't you tell us? You know, I think we mentioned it a little bit early on, but you know, your company. This is a chance to promote.
Yeah,
your
give
company, your team.
Plug.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to hear it.
We've got some Arizona names in.
Yeah, I'll tell you. There's a guy. There's a guy that I'm specifically trying to reach. Okay, and I see this happen a lot. You go down the rabbit hole of YouTube. You start seeing that you want to do some of this stuff to your home. There's a lot of guys out there doing DIY, and you want to try and do it yourself. You start getting involved with it, and you realize it's a little bit more than you wanted to sign up for. Okay. These are the guys that come to EG4. They love the products. They see the products. They want to do it, but then they're just hitting a roadblock. I do a program called a DIY Assist. And I think this is going to be huge moving forward, where there's people that want to be involved in what's being put on their home. They want to know what's going on. They want full transparency of how it's happening and how much it costs. And for those people, my message is give me a call. Give me a call. We'll do a DIY Assist. I'll help you with your program. We'll get you some plans so that way it can all be done and you know that it's being done the right way. And that's what I want to do. I want to really help those people out. Everybody else on the outside of that can get help from me as well. But I think those people specifically, they don't really have anywhere to go. And so I want to create a place for them to go that they can get the help they need.
Rocky, what's a good way to get in contact with you and your team?
I was just going to say that. So if, I'm putting together some IKEA furniture and I just can't do it, who do I call, Rocky?
Yeah, just go ahead and call me. You can call me at my phone number. It's 480-925-9783. You can also go to the website. It's ps-es.com. And that's Public Safety and Energy Services.
Beautiful. I love it.
Hey, one quick thing. I know Rocky kind of mentioned it earlier, right? That there's not really any regulations currently. It's almost like we live in the wild, wild west.
Hilarious. Arizona joke.
I couldn't help it, man. I've just been thinking about that for like the last 20 minutes, and I had to get
It's been stewing in his mind. He's like, I need to make a cheesy dad joke. It's coming up. I can feel it building.
Insert the Will Smith video here.
I love it. Hey, well, Rocky, I want to thank you, man. It's been great talking to you, great catching up. I look forward to seeing you in the future and maybe doing a project together, man. I'd love to get on the field with you guys.
Please reach out if you need anything.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks again.
Thanks, Rocky. Take care.
You too. Bye.